MJ Movie Reviews back again with my review of Avengers Endgame. Okay, guys, I was contemplating about whether I was even going to review this movie or not because basically, when you're a part of the YouTube community and a big, gigantic movie like this, pretty much everybody and their mom is doing a review of it. So, it kind of renders it even pointless for me to even review it. But I'm going to review it just so I can just have my opinion out there in YouTube universe, just for you all, anybody who watches me or whatever can know how I feel about it. But really, in the grand scheme of the entire YouTube community of Facebook, Twitter, non-passionate movie people who want to pretend to be movie reviewers, I'm just going to put my opinion out there. It was fantastic. It was an epic, cinematic, grandiose, spectacular piece of, and I'm going to use a word, filmmaking, because it is a well done film. It's not just a superhero movie; it's a well done film. I'm just going to start with everything I liked about it. Let me go back. Marvel Studios started with that experimentation movie, which was an experiment. Iron Man, starring the then pulled out of obscurity Robert Downey Jr., who kids who only know him as Iron Man, he had some troubles with the law, some troubles with some drug addiction. Um, he put his faith in his higher power, and he cleaned himself up, and he took on a role which was a gigantic risk. And Robert Downey Jr., in my personal opinion, is the daddy of this entire thing. Of this entire, Robert Downey Jr. is the driving force of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, in my opinion. Because if it wasn't for his, and Robert Downey Jr. has always been a fantastic actor, way back to when he was a brat. He wasn't part of the Brat Pack, but a Brat Packy 20-something actor in the 80s. He was fantastic back then. He's always been fantastic. You take out the drugs, he's even greater, which is what he did, and that's why he excelled. But being with this entire franchise since the very beginning, the fact that they were able to connect every single Marvel movie, even Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton before Mark Ruffalo, they connected every piece of character, every aspect of every Marvel movie, and weaved it into this film. That is a monumental task and a monumental accomplishment. It doesn't go well. You see films like X-Men The Last Stand, and even though that was way behind the game, well, it wasn't too far behind the game, because I think Iron Man was '08 and X-Men Last Stand was '06. It could be a cluster, what. And Marvel, another thing I want to digress for a minute, DC needs to just stick their hands up and go, we're not worthy, because they're... I mean, Marvel was already way ahead, but there's just... Endgame solidifies the nail in the coffin that DC, don't even try to copy, just do your own thing. Just do your own thing. Don't try to compete. Don't do your own thing. But anyway, that's the accomplishment of this film. Is not only is it great filmmaking, not only is it dramatically and thematically faithful to the characters that Marvel has created from the beginning. It is a great piece. It's a great film. And it keeps you invested, emotionally invested. You're with the characters. You're with the journey from the beginning. At least I was. Leaving out the theater, there were some moviegoers who weren't, and I'm going to get onto that later. And I think that part of the four Avenger movies, which I have not seen Age of Ultron in a while, because I only saw Age of Ultron once. The first Avengers movie I really, really like. I don't love it, but I really like it. Infinity Wars was pretty much my favorite out of the bunch. Is Endgame better? In my personal opinion, I look at them as one movie. You know what I mean? And I don't really look at them as like one is better than the other because it's one giant story. So really they're one movie. So it's almost like, and I'm using a bad example, guys, but like The Matrix Reloaded and The Matrix Revolutions, how that's really one movie. This is really one movie. So in that case, I don't really look at it as one being the other. The only thing I will say is that I was very satisfied with the way they wrapped up the Avengers storyline of everybody. And that's the gigantic accomplishment of the movie, is that it closed everybody. It created mostly everybody's arc. There were some things that were left open, but mostly, like Iron Man, Cap, because they're the driving stars there. Really, it's their show. It's Robert Downey's show, and I think Chris Evans kind of slowly kind of stepped up and was on equal footing with Downey Jr. And it closes all the gaps, of the characters, creates their arcs. So the fact that they did that emotionally too, because there were times, there's only very few times in my life when I get teary-eyed in films. Obviously, films that I used to see when I was a kid, like TV movies about the civil rights movies and stuff like that. Those movies will always make you cry, man, because it's nothing like seeing people just get abused, and back in those movies back then, we didn't get a chance to fight back, so that'll always make you cry. But I digress too far. But just the fact that they actually were to keep you emotionally invested, I really, man, it was fantastic. It was really fantastic. Mostly everybody gets screen time, and I'm gonna get onto my negatives in a little bit. But it was just the fact that I really think the story was very cleverly woven in how the heroes solved the dilemma of the last movie. I thought it worked well, and I like the fact that they were in on the joke. They openly made references to Back to the Future, Time Cop event. They made a reference to Van Damme. Come on, in a Marvel movie. How you gonna make a reference to Van Damme? That is some true. See, this is how I know the people who are making these movies, these are real, true film fans and lovers of film. Because when you make a reference to Time Cop in a Marvel movie, Van Damme, you're a movie fan. You really are. So it's fantastic. But it's just the fact that I thought it was very, and I love the fact that they didn't try to get too ahead of themselves. They blatantly stole from Back to the Future Part 2. And that's the way Avengers Endgame, the storyline is basically the big bulk of the middle section is the second act of Back to the Future Part 2. It straight up is. Redoing events from the previous movies from a different perspective. That's all it is. And they do it very well. It's nothing like if you copy something, do it well. And they do. And I was just involved. I enjoyed the entire thing. What I really liked about it is the consistency in the performances. Now, I will admit from some of my fellow YouTuber movie reviewers that I will say I do agree that Thor was a little bit inconsistent, a little bit from the films. There's only one Marvel movie I never saw. I never saw Thor: The Dark World, so sue me, guys. I got to go back and watch it. Maybe I'll order it here on Amazon Prime tonight since I'm off work tomorrow. But anyway, but aside from that, everything was very consistent. What I really loved is that, because I think one of the underrated Marvel movies to me is Ant-Man. I really like Ant-Man 1, and I like the second film. I like both of them, and I'm a gigantic Paul Rudd fan. I've been a fan of Paul Rudd since he did Curse of Michael Myers way back in '95 and when he did Clueless. I've always loved the guy. I just loved him as an actor. And I love the fact that he got to really, especially in the early portions of the film, got to really do some dramatic work here. Not like his character roots from back in the day, but he did get to flex some character stuff here and then do some Ant-Man-y kind of stuff. I like some of his interactions with Smart Hulk and all of that. It was just great. I just really loved everybody's performances all across the board. So And Josh Brolin again, he plays Thanos with class and menace and just like this pure seductive confidence of like I already got this. I don't even have to raise my voice because I know I already got this. Even when I know what the good guys are doing, it don't matter what they're doing because I already got this. Still plays it that way. Fantastic, just great. Um, Now with this many threads to put together, people get shortchanged. I wasn't really surprised at that. I mean, Infinity Wars gave everybody a lot of screen time, and that was really surprising with as many characters that they had to juggle. But here, Doctor Strange gets shortchanged. I was very disappointed that Spider-Man got shortchanged in this one because him and Hawk are my favorite superheroes of all time. So Spidey got really shortchanged here, but it completed his arc from the last movie. You knew he wasn't dead, and Tony found out he wasn't dead. So that was done with. But he got some cool stuff to do. Um, you know, I was very disappointed with the way they handled the Incredible Hulk. I love the Incredible Hulk. I love him. I love him. I used to watch the NBC Saturday morning cartoon, and I love the Lou Ferrigno show from back in the day. I love Hulk, and it disappoints me that he's pretty much been a co-star ever since the Edward Norton movie didn't blow out, become a gigantic box office hit. And I love the Edward Norton Hawk movie. I think that movie is very underrated. But ever since then, Hawk has just been relegated to a side character, and I guess they just kind of figure you can't really do much with a guy who gets angry and screams and tears stuff apart. So okay, but here I would have liked if Hawk would have been able to get back for Thanos jacking him up in the last movie and him losing his Hawkism. So that disappointed me that the Incredible Hulk didn't do any Hulk smashing at all. It was a funny gag when he tried to pretend to kind of Hulk smash, and he was like, "Rah, psh, rah, psh." That was very funny. But I was disappointed in that. We talk about a very controversial person, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel here, well, for all the controversial talk and all the stuff at the press screenings and woman power and all that and this and that and the other, good Lord, did Captain Marvel get shortchanged in this movie? Doesn't really surprise me. My whole thing is she was, to me, I just think she was a gimmick to try to sell this character. And, in my personal opinion, I thought the Captain Marvel movie was dull. It wasn't all horrible. It was just, I thought it was dull and uninspired. And in comparison to the other Marvel movies, I thought it was quite routine and lackluster, in my opinion. Brie Larson, I love her as an actress. I just thought it was a by the numbers lackluster thing. And her character in this movie honestly really didn't have to be there. And her character is pretty underwritten and shortchanged in the film. I mean, she rescues. Okay, I'm not gonna give away any spoilers, but those of you who saw it knows she has one moment that I thought was worthy of her character even participating in it, and that was once in the beginning of the movie. And then she does a little bit of fighting with Thanos towards the end, but even then, I mean, Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor pretty much already had that. So it was just, she was just kind of like just like, why are you even jumping in, But her character was very much shortchanged, and I didn't really particularly think that she helped to balance it out. When you watch Infinity Wars, when they all combine together, when they all combine with each strength, it makes sense together, right? I just didn't feel like her participation added to the team. Ant-Man has his gimmick. He's got the quantum realm. So he adds his strength, which is heist, stealing. Add that with Bruce Banner's brain. Iron Man's got the technology. They're all working together. Captain Marvel does not. So Black Panther, I thought those guys, they all got shortchanged. Like I said, I was actually surprised. Guardians of the Galaxy. Chris Evans got really shortchanged in this one. I was actually surprised. Chris Evans is really, or not Chris Evans. Man, what's his name? Guardians of the Galaxy. Chris Pratt. He's basically a cameo. He's an extended cameo in this movie, which is cool. I mean, because he did a lot in the last movie, but I was really surprised. He didn't really do much here at all. Um, that's okay. The length of the film. Uh, I was fine with the 3 hours. I was perfectly fine because we know that when you try to take so much story that you have to tell and you compress it, you end up with X-Men: The Last Stand. And we all know that X-Men: The Last Stand, that should have been a 2.5 hour movie, and that just turned out to be an hour and 40 minute just kind of rough draft that they just threw out there quickly. So the fact that it was 3 hours, I was perfectly fine with that. Um, Now I love the film. It worked for me. As I was leaving the theater, I did hear some people. I heard a lot of people saying it was great. Majority of the people I heard was great. There were a few. It was all right. It was all right. Coming out the theater. Um, my personal opinion on this, and some of the reviews that I've heard on the internet about people saying the first hour drags and it's too slow and it's this and that. My personal opinion on it is that look, we have I don't know 20 something Marvel movies. We got 20 something movies of people flying through the air and all that. This had to be the end of this gigantic story of these four movies, particularly from the height and the cliffhanger of Infinity Wars. You can't make a completely action oriented story to complete the arc of that last film. That was a emotionally devastating arc at the end of that movie. That's very jarring for an audience and for your character and for characters that you've been with for all this time. Um, think about it like if you break up with you and you're in a relationship, you ain't just going just hey, it's over with and just walk out the door. You're gonna approach it with some sensitivity. You're gonna finesse it a little bit, explain some things, spend a little time. You gotta compress, and then you break loose from it. That's the idea with this. You have to completely be with these characters because there's gonna be some heavy stuff coming in order for the action to mean something. Not just Michael Bay cool stuff. Okay, it's cool, that's fine, but it's hollow for it to mean something because it has to mean something because we've been with these characters for so long. So this part of the movie that people they felt dragged, I did not. I felt we had to get emotionally invested and then when the action kicks in, you're totally with it. So like when Thanos is like, I got this, and he's jacking everybody up, you're like, oh man. And then when the heroes comes with the cavalry, you like, get him. That's the purpose of those scenes. And then when other things happen, you feel that way because you're invested. You're invested from all these years, and you're also invested from what we've learned has happened in the beginning of the movie. You don't just go in and just do whatever, bam, 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 the action movie over. This is a franchise here you create. You see, you just go ahead and throw some stuff together, you end up with X-Men: The Last Stand. You piss your audience off. You want to be with these people, with the characters, build with them, and send them out with an emotional bang and an action bang. 2 for 2, you got your audience locked. Then when you come out with another movie, you making more money. That's business. Makes sense to me. But some people, okay. There's two types. There's different kinds of viewers. There's viewers who don't mind their superhero movies, like Christopher Reeve's Superman the movie, that's 90% storytelling, and really that and Superman 2, which are really one movie, but it's the same thing where it's like that's really 90% really character building, and then Superman 2 is basically kind of about 40% character building, and then you got the other 50 is action, or maybe it could be the other way around by today's filmmaking standards. And then there's some people who prefer Spawn 1997 from New Line Cinema style of uh, their superhero movies, which that's very little substance and that's just all CGI action. It depends on people's preference. Some people don't have the patience. Um, I think Avengers Infinity War is very adult. It's very adult. I don't know if the kids are going to be on board with this. They're going to be on board with the finale, but the storytelling is very much. It takes its time in the beginning of the movie, like a 70s movie did, like Christopher Reeve's Superman 1978. So some people just don't want that. For me, as long as they've been making these Marvel movies and all these movies these characters have been in together, I want to feel something. I don't want it to just be quick, bam, bam, cut and dry and over with. I want to feel something. So for me, it didn't bother me. You know, I like to sometimes. That's one of the problems I have with the Transformers movies is that they just visually and auditory it just assault you just with things zoom zoom and it never stops. Give me a chance to decompress, to process, and get me in. So hey, look. All I can say is, for my taste, I enjoy character. I enjoy acting. I enjoy watching the characters just be themselves as the people before the action. It does not bother me, and I enjoy all of it. I enjoy when you have that good balance of both. Um, James Cameron does that very well. He did that very well with like Terminator 2. Character and action. Some people just don't want that. Some people just want, and nothing is good or bad. You know, um, uh, some people like the Spawn Michael Bay style of of storytelling. You know, my opinion is I don't think that was appropriate for Avengers Endgame. Avengers Endgame was the closing of everything. To my knowledge, I don't think Robert Dunn. Well, they'll all come back, man, if Marvel pays them enough. But at least as to right now, they're at least gonna close this book for a couple of years. So, I this wasn't meant to be that kind of movie. This is an epic, grandiose storytelling comic book movie. The story didn't lend itself to that style of Michael Bay filmmaking. You had to be emotionally invested for it to truly close. If you're not emotionally invested, then it's not closed. It's just So that's my opinion on it. I really loved it. I can't say I don't really say if there's one thing, if there's one big negative against Endgame is the fact that, like I said, I named the characters that got shortchanged, and I think Infinity War everybody got more equal screen time in that last movie. I think was Ant Man in the last movie? No, I don't think he. I don't. I'm just a good lord, guys. I can't remember. I don't think he was. I think he was already. I can't remember. I gotta watch it again. It's on Netflix. I'm gonna watch it tonight. But anyway, that's just my big negative. Some people got shortchanged, a little bit of character inconsistencies, and Hulk not being the Incredible Hulk, not going back to old school Hulk. At least by the end, to do some Hulk action. That was just like But it's great. It's a great movie. We're gonna get some more because right now I think this movie's already at $1 billion. I mean a billion. So and as far as the length was fine with me. Digressing just a short minute, I know as much as I love The Dark Knight, I kind of feel that fairy sequence and kind of that part of the movie might have been a little bit too much, and they might have trimmed that or maybe taken that out. But for me, Avengers Endgame is the perfect length. I loved this film. I loved it. So thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video. If anybody wants to check out my my channel about Avengers. You can if you want, or you can check out the big old popular guys. So RMJ Movie Reviews. I'll see you soon.